So here we are again, and in this video we're going to look at what I call root cause analysis and health detective investigation. Now, as we saw in the previous videos, symptoms are the end result of something which is deeper and more hidden. So the symptoms are like the flowering of the plant above the ground, and that is what we see and feel. But underneath the ground are the roots and the root cause. And usually people have not understood the root cause. And in order to effect complete recovery and a totality holistic approach, we need to identify those root causes because we need to pull the plant out from the ground, roots and all. Because if we don't do that, then the leaves will just grow again. And as we saw before, we heal a whole person, not a health condition. And we heal a whole person's life, not an illness. And we're going to be looking more at how we do that in this video. So what I do when I work with clients is what I call root cause analysis. And that's why I call myself the Kiwi Health Detective and also the Emotional Health Detective, because we're really digging deep to get to the root emotional stress causes of what set up the illness in the first place. Because if you remember, disease is very often a state of dis-ease or unease, which has gone on for so long and accumulated for so long, it eventually starts to manifest symptoms which we call disease. So what does a detective do? A detective searches for and finds clues, and then they're able to resolve a mystery. And this is what I do. I help people resolve the mystery of why they have symptoms at a fundamental level. We're looking at this root cause level. So the end result is physical symptoms, pain, fatigue, and the fundamental level is metaphysical, something beyond the physical. And that's why we need to look at a whole person's life, because we need to look at more than just the physical aspect of the symptoms. And this is like going underneath the surface. We're going deep. The symptoms are on the surface, but we need to go deep to understand, well, why is what is happening on the surface happening, and how do we affect a total holistic recovery? So how do we get to the deep and the metaphysical? Well, the way I do it is that we look at a whole person's life. We need to look at that whole person's life literally from birth to see everything that has happened to them that has contributed to these symptoms finally manifesting many years later. In the 13 years that I've been working so far with clients, what I've seen with every single client is that the foundation for their symptoms manifesting was set up in the first 7 to 10 years of life. And this has been with every single client. I'm still waiting for this to be proven different, so to speak, to see something where this is not the case, and I'm totally open to that. But so far, every time I've done a root cause analysis session with a client, we can clearly see that the roots of the problem started to grow very early on in life. But at that time, we had no idea that was happening. And for some people, symptoms may start manifesting in childhood, other people in teenage years, other people 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So it's different for everybody, but the foundation, just like a foundation of a building, a nice concrete slab before you build a house, it's always in the first 7 to 10 years of life. And this is why we need to look at somebody's whole life, not just the end result, not just the manifesting symptoms. So when we look at a whole person's life, we then heal a whole person's life. So what does this mean? It means that we're not actually focusing on the symptoms to affect recovery. We're focusing on the person. and we're focusing on what is happening in that person's life now, and also what happened to that person's life in the past. That is what needs healing. We heal the person, we heal their life, we don't heal an illness. The illness is just the manifestation of the symptoms. The symptoms, you could say in a way, don't need healing. The illness doesn't need healing. The illness is just the manifestation of the dis-ease. What needs healing is the dis-ease, the unease, the stress, the trauma, the emotions. This is what needs healing. So how do I look at a whole person's life in order to discover these root causes? Well, as I said before, we search for and find clues. And the way I do that is I look at a person's life like a picture puzzle. There are many things that have happened in that person's life, and each event is like a piece of a picture puzzle. And we need to see all these pieces and then piece them together. So you know, if you ever bought a puzzle, that when you first get it, it's in the box, all the pieces are individual pieces, and you can't see a total picture at all. In fact, you might not even know what that picture should look like unless you've seen a picture of what the finished version should look like already. And what we do in this root cause analysis session, I look for certain pieces of this picture puzzle, and we start putting the picture puzzle together. And by the end of the root cause analysis, we will have a very clear picture of this puzzle. Now, there may be some pieces missing, and that's fine. More will come to light as we work together after that session. However, we will have enough in that first root cause analysis session to see a pretty clear picture of this happened, which led to this, to this, to this, to this, and now here you are now with whatever you're experiencing right now. So what does this do? Well, it clears up confusion. It brings great clarity, because we're going beneath the waves where all the ripples and waves are, and we're going into the deep where there is much more clarity. And this is where the roots are. So you may be asking, well, what are all these pieces of the picture puzzle? Well, these are the sort of things that I'm going to be looking for. We're going to be looking at who are the people in your life currently and in the past that have maybe created some stress or some trauma. We're going to be looking at life events. What has happened in your life that has created stress and trauma? We're going to be looking at your environment. And environment includes people, it includes family, social, cultural. And for example, if somebody grows up in a war zone, that is also a very important physical environment where the body will have been constantly in a state of stress. We will look at your childhood and your past and what happened. We will look at what's going on currently in your life or recently in your life. We will look at the present. We will look at how you manage your emotions or not, how you manage stress or not, what is going on in your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs. And we will look at your lifestyle behaviors and habits and whether they're life affirming or life depleting, and many more things than this. Because what happens is all of these pieces of the picture puzzle, they are the metaphysical. They're the beyond physical part of the end result of the physical symptoms. Because we live in a universe of cause and effect, and actions will always have consequences. And the reason for doing this is so that we're able to pull the plant out by its roots, so those roots can't regrow. So to summarize, we search for and find clues in order to resolve the mystery of why the symptoms are there. And then, once we have all that information, then we will know what solution to apply. So the metaphor that I like to use for this resolving the mystery and then applying solution is the example or metaphor of a car breaking down. If a car breaks down and you don't know how to fix it, you don't know what's wrong, you don't know why it's broken down, you may have it towed to a garage. And the mechanic is going to do an assessment. And the point of that assessment is to identify why has the car broken down and what do I need to do to fix it. Now, until that mechanic does that assessment, they will have no idea of what the problem is or how to fix the car. In other words, they won't know what bits have broken, what bits are missing, what parts need to be replaced or ordered, what tools they need to use to replace those parts, etc., etc. They must do that assessment first. And once they've done the assessment and they've clearly identified the cause of the problem, in other words, the carburetor is broken, or this belt is broken, or radiator's leaking, or whatever it is, once they've identified what the problem is, they can then tell you, okay, well, this is what the problem is, and this is what we're going to have to do to fix it. And they have absolute clarity. Now, that is very similar with how I work. In the root cause analysis session, we're resolving the mystery, and then I will know what to recommend as the next step in order to apply a solution. But until we've done this root cause analysis, I cannot make suggestions as to what the next step or the solution will be. So this is why the root cause analysis session is the starting point for anybody who wants to work with me on a one-to-one basis. And it saves people years of wasted time, money, and effort trying to get rid of their symptoms when they don't really understand the root cause. So the solution becomes apparent and self-evident once the mystery is solved. So remember, we heal a whole person, not a health condition. We heal a whole person's life, not an illness. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.